Yeah. Okay. So there's this book, the fiction book that I read as a kid called The Eyes of Kid Midas, and I'll spoil it now. In the book, and I think this is half true. I think that they mentioned this Native American myth about how the world started. That it emerged from something that they called like dream time, which was like no real reality and like everything was like mixed up, and then like the reality coalesced. So I think that's an actual myth. Then in the book, then they talked about the end of the world would revert back to dream time. So like all the things in reality would start to become blurred, and like imagination would intersect with like, you know, what was real, and like things would go eventually back into like toeivah, you know. So I feel like I feel like today's pasuk is going to kind of be like that, because I mean we saw this last time, but when we did this pasuk, then you have a Mishlei pasuk, but then it's kind of a summary of Chumash. So that brings us into Chumash,
Yeah.
and then it's very very tied to mitzvot, and that brought us into the Rambam, you know. And like we had that experience last week where like, you know, it felt like we were doing Rambam Bekius, you know, but we were also doing like pasukim and also Mishlei, and so I have no idea where it's going to go today. So we'll see what happens. And this could, I like, you know, we even noted there's different directions we could take it. Like we could go into like coming up with a theory of toeivah, because this is the first Mishlei topic that deals with that, or we could, you know, go into other stuff. So let's start by reviewing and then just see what happens. Okay. All right. So so we are on Perek pasuk Yud. Evan va'avin, ephah ve'ephah, to'avas Hashem gam shnehem. A stone and a stone, an ephah and an ephah, both of them are also an abomination of Hashem. We weren't exactly sure how to translate the gam. I have to throw that in there. Also, both of them are an abomination of Hashem. Either way, it's weird. Okay, so the questions were, what's the finish of the pasuk, given what it says in Devarim 25, 13 through 16? So let me just share that and then read that. Here, you know what? I don't want to share my email. My email's open. Let me just close that. Okay, here we go.
Sorry, just going back to your weird intro.
Oh, you know, there's another aspect of weird intro. Go ahead.
Yeah. So which thing is the dream time?
Which thing is the dream time? The fact that we this might just like diffuse into Rambam Bekios Chumash philosophy. You know.
Yeah.
Also, I had a really bad case of insomnia last night. I think I woke up like 3:30,
Okay.
and I've been up since then. So like that might also account for this. Okay.
By the way, I'm mentally prepared that we might do a third day.
Yes. Okay. Good. I was going to ask that as well.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just reread the psukim again. So Devarim 25, 13 is lo yelecha b'kisacha eden va'aven gedol uktana. There should not be in your pouch a stone and a stone, a big one and a small one. Lo yelecha b'veischa ephah ve'ephah gedol uktana. There should not be in your house a ephah measure and an ephah measure, a big one and a small one. Even shlema v'tzedek yihiyeh lach, a whole and accurate stone you shall have for yourself. Ephah shlema v'tzedek yihiyeh lach, a whole and accurate ephah you should have for yourself. L'man yarichu yamecha al ha'adamah she'ad Hashem elokecha nosen la. In order that you should prolong your days on the land that Hashem your God gives you. Ki toeivah Hashem elokecha kol otzei ela kol otzei avel. Because an abomination of Hashem your God is anyone who does these, anyone who does iniquity, right? So that was so there's an issue to use the unjust weights and measures. Also, we forgot to say last time that there's a mitzvah say to correctly calibrate your scales. Okay, well, you can't really do that with a stone, but and then there's a lota say also to own the weights and measures even if you're not going to use them. Okay, so then we had the Rambam, which I printed them out if you want a copy of the Rambam, because I'd like to reread that.
Oh, I just remembered something that we said. I don't remember if we said this in share afterwards. Yeah. About like.
I didn't ask the question yet. Yeah.
About the issue of owning unjust measure.
Yeah.
Which is that it's like an object of deceit.
Right. It's an object of deceit. Yeah.
Like, since it is a measure that is that is like masquerading as like a accurate measure, but it's actually a false measure.
Yeah.
It is by definition an implement of falsehood.
Right. And like, why would you have it if not to use it?
Yeah.
And if you're not going to use it, then why do you have it?
Yeah. It's like, you know, if you have like an altar in your backyard, you wouldn't say like, oh, you know what? Okay, it's like, I have an altar. It's not for like, avodah or like a couple of chutzs, but like,
Right.
if you didn't, then why would you have it?
Right. I forgot to ask the rest of the questions. What about unjust weights and measures? What about unjust measures? Is it calling a toeivah? Is it using, owning, or is it both, or is it something else? Because the pasuk just says the weights themselves. We thought it was owning because the toeivah, that's the one that's called a toeivah in the pasuk. What is a toeivah Hashem in general? What is gam shnehem adding? What's the chiddush in gam shnehem? And then what's the practical application beyond the lo taseh? Is it just reinforcing the lo taseh, or is it adding something to the practical application that you would like relate to it differently if you didn't know that this was a toeivah? All right, so let's just do that one halakha in the Rambam, and then I kind of want to think about the Rambam because I found some stuff on that, and we'll go from there. All right, so the Rambam says in Geniva 7:12. Kasha anshan shel midos yater mi anshan shel arayos. So the punishment for midos is harsher, literally, I guess, right? Harsher, kasha, than the and midos meaning measures, which is all these mitzvos here. It's harsher than the punishment of arayos, of prohibited sexual relations. Because this is between meaning arayos are between man and God, and this meaning midos is between man and man. So we said several things difficult about that. First of all, the punishment of arayos is much harsher.
Yeah, you get paris and or killed.
Paris and or killed. Also, it's like, not that this is really to the punishment, but it's one of the big three. In the system, it seems to be bigger. And midos, you don't even have to pay double. You just have to pay back what you stole. So even within theft, it's like not very severe. And then the first half of the statement is weird because it is comparing midos to arayos, which seems to be specifically, but then when it gives the reason, it says that this one is between man and God and this one's between man and man, which seems to be universal. Like, are we saying that all between man and God things are less severe than between man and man? And like, if so, then first of all, that doesn't seem to be true. But then what's the relationship between the very generic reason given in the second half and then the very specific one given in the first half? Yeah. Okay, then anyone who denies the mitzvah of midos is like one who denies the mitzvah of Yitzias. Sorry, it's like one who denies Yitzias Mitzrayim. Shehi tchilas hatzivoy, because it is the beginning of the commandment. So first of all, what does it mean to deny a mitzvah? Presumably it's something more than just violating the mitzvah. So what does it mean to deny it? And then what does it mean that Yitzias Mitzrayim is the beginning of the commandment? And then what does it mean? How is midos connected to Yitzias Mitzrayim? And then b'chol makabel alav mitzvah midos, anyone who accepts upon himself the mitzvah of midos, whatever that means, because we've accepted all the mitzvahs at Sinai. So what does it mean beyond that to accept upon yourself the mitzvah of midos? Harzeh modev Yitzias Mitzrayim. So then you're affirming Yitzias Mitzrayim. Shehi garma l'chol hatzivuyin, which is the cause of all the commandments. Which, by the way, when we read it on Thursday, I was not medactic in my translation. That you note the different way that Yitzias Mitzrayim is framed in each half.
Yeah, that's hatzivuy, which is the start of the commandment as opposed to the cause.
Right. So tchila versus cause, and then the first one is hatzivui, and then the second one is kol hatzivuyin. I don't know if that's significant, but he does use different phrases here.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hatzivuy is mitos, right?
That's what it sounds like, right? Because it says kol kover b'mitzvahs mitos. That's the only like subject in the pasuk. Kia kover b'tchilas hatzivui. Hatzivui of what? The tzivui of mitos. Yeah.
So it's saying if you deny mitos, then you're denying the thing that caused the mitos.
Right.
Mitos, which is the time. Because that was its cause.
Yeah.
But if you are metabolite, whatever that means, then you're affirming Yitzias Mitzrayim because Yitzias Mitzrayim was the cause of mitos and other things.
Mitos and all the other mitzvahs, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So we said last time that we think that this comes from the pasuk because the pasuk says in where is it here? In Vayikra Yutes, I think it was in Yutes. Yeah. In Vayikra Yutes, it says Lo Satu Avel Bamish. Well, talk about Gerim, right? You shouldn't cheat the ger. or press the gerek Ezrach mikem yihi alachem hager hagar itchem ve'ahavta lo kamocha ki gerim hisim be'eretz mitzrayim ani Hashem Elokeichem. You shall love him as yourself because you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am Hashem your God. Then lo tatu aval b'mishpat, do not do an injustice in judgment. B'mida b'mishkol b'masurah, in these three types of measures. Mosnei tzedek, apnei tzedek, epas tzedek, v'hin tzedek yelchem. You should have accurate measures in all these things. Ani Hashem Elokeichem, I am Hashem your God. Asher hotesi eschem me'eretz mitzrayim, who took you out of Egypt. From the land of Egypt, ushmartem et kol chukosai ves kol mishpatai tasitim makam. To guard all of my chukim and my mishpatim and do them. I am Hashem. So that makes it sound like the mitzvah of midos is somehow connected to Yetzias Mitzrayim. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the question is, what is the Rambam saying?
Yeah. Also, I think there's like a lot of mitzvot where the word and then says like Ani Hashem Elokeichem. I'm sure thinking,
Right. So that's the only one. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So do you have any ideas?
No.
Okay. So let me lead with one thing that I found. So I think this is the Bekor Shore, and he quotes a couple of Chazals that are helpful. So this is on the Bekor Shore on Dvarim 25.
There's another area that might be a good thing to explore. And like that, I was thinking about like it was the in the beginning of Mishlei when it talks about toeivahs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
I'm just saying this. I'm just putting it out there as
Okay, so this is Bekor Shor on Dvarim 25:16. So I think this first part is just a quote of the Gemara, pretty much, or a paraphrase of the Gemara. Kasha onchan shel midos mi onchan shel arayos. Okay, so the punishment of midos is harsher than the punishment of arayos. The arayos ksiv, because by arayos it is written ki es kol hatoevos ha'el. Okay, all of these abominations, and the word used for these is el. The kan ksiv ele. Here it says kol otse ele, right? Anyone who does these and it spells it with a hey. Okay, the el kasha, and el is harsher. Diksiv, as it says, the es ele haaretz lakach. Okay, so I kind of, the ele kasha me el. Okay, and el is harsh. And then Ela is harsher than El. Okay, now I don't really care about the limud right now. Maybe it's relevant, but he doesn't seem to treat it relevant. So now here we get the reason. Shezeh nitan lemechila. Okay, this meaning arayos is given to pardon. Okay, arayos she'eno ra ki'im l'shamayim. Arayos is only bad vis-a-vis heaven. Okay, ki'im ba al kro uvaso she'ena eshes ish. If you have an incestuous relationship, which is not adultery, because adultery is bein l'chavero, that's the one exception. But if you have, like, say, like any one of the other arayos, then that's only bad bein adam l'makom. Ukish osa tshuva kadosh baruch hu mochel lo. And when you do tshuva, God forgives you. Okay, about gozel es harabim, but if you steal from the masses, which is a difference between one of the other differences between midos and then other types of geniva. We were focusing last time on the fact that with geniva, with the midos, then you are taking the instruments of accuracy and justice, and then you're making them into instruments of inaccuracy and injustice. But the Gemara is like focusing on a different aspect, the fact that like you're stealing from many people. It's impossible for you to pay it back. Shari eno yodea as mi gozo, because you don't know who you're stealing it from. And God will not forgive you until you appease those who you stole from. Okay. Then he gives a possible solution. Mihu rabosenu amru yaase bahem tzorchei rabim sheyihanu rabim. So you should do with them the tzorchei rabim in order to benefit the masses. Kamosha gazo rabim, just like you stole from the masses. So I when it says Yaseh Bahem, I don't know if that Bahem is with the I don't know if that's with the masses, but it sounds like you should, the way to do tshuva is you benefit the masses in some way, in the same way that you stole from them. Then it says Umihu ena tshuva ma'alya. Nevertheless, that's not going to be a high quality tshuva. Because you did not pay back the one who you stole from actually. Yeah. Okay, and then this last part. I mean, we'll read one last thing. And that's including all matters of iniquity. whether money or other stuff. Okay, so this is what it means. So this answers our question about the arayos. It's not saying that the punishment is harsher, because the punishment for arayos is harsher, but it's saying that basically in terms of the punishment is more severe in the sense that you could get off on the punishment, or you could get out of the punishment vis-a-vis God with arayos by just doing tshuva, but you can't do that so easily with mitos because you're cheating from many people and you can't pay them back. Yeah. So the question is, what's the idea there? And that fits into the way that the Rambam's reading it seems, right? In fact, I didn't even look at the Rambam, the footnote guy on the Rambam. Let's see if he says that. Yud Beis, Beina Lebeina Makom, HaMakom Hu Kinu LaKadosh Baruch Hu Shu Mekayim Et HaOlam. Okay, fine. Re'im More Nebukim. Shkein Kivnu HaMitzvos O HaHazaros Shein Ba'ot Lahavi Et Adam L'Shleimus Mishum She'inan Yeshirot Bein Adam L'Chavero. Okay, fine. V'zeh bein levein chavero, ve'ino yachol lafshuv b'tshuva shlema b'nei sheganav mi'anashim rabim, ve'ino yidei lemi lahachdir et mash ganav. Hibit l'nosach l'hevdil ben hamitzvos, im kim ha'adam hamitzvos hamichados lo ba'atmo, v'meh shebein levein chavero, yesh lo al zeh sachar, yigmul yosham al kach l'olam ha'bab, im kim ha'adam hamitzvos ha'tulis b'tkinut, yachati bein b'nei adam, im zeh yesh lo al zeh sachar l'olam ha'bab, al kim ha'mitzvos, v'yachti to alef al mazeh, להתנהגות טובה עם בני אדם לפי אם הלך בדרך זו והלך זולת בה יהיה הנה גם הוא מעשות טובה. Okay, that's not really so relevant. Okay, fine. So that's for the first part at least. Yeah. So what's the point he's making here then? And it still is weird it's comparing to arayos. I mean, there are a lot of things. You could just compare it to, I mean, you could just say that's from the drasha, you know, ha'el and ha'eleh. Because really what we're saying here is it's a bein adam lachavero that is difficult to do full tshuva for because you can't make restitution. Yeah.
I don't remember whether it was you or Zev who said on like Thursday afternoon when we were at the wedding. So I think one of you had an idea about what the issue of arayos is and why it's severe.
Okay.
Is that like, you know, like marriage is like a building block of society.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you like you know a family is
Family's building, right? Yeah.
society, and when you take and arayos is taking the action of like producing a building block, but like perverting it in a way that cannot produce a
Mm-hmm.
like cannot produce that.
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember that. Yeah.
And so I'm not fully explaining how why it was chosen, but they're both talking about like these are both mitzvot that have to do with society in some way. Like it's a bein adam l'makom that has to do with society.
Yeah. That's good. That's a good call. I mean, that fits in with what we were saying last time about the fact that that's what the idea of having standards are in a society, like standard weights and measures, is that you can all rely on the fact that like you're dealing with the same stuff, you know, and you could all trust each other and like do commerce in a way that is, you know, efficient and on the same terms, you know.
Yeah.
And when you mess with it, then it corrodes that common foundation.
Yeah, and this is not exactly the same thing, but when in businesses they're not and they like trust.
Yeah.
It makes it much harder to like do anything because you have to like make sure that that like there's like a binding agreement such that neither party can like betray the other party and like it's just like a whole like conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Like when you don't have like an expectation of like, you know, of like trust and like not stealing from each other.
Right. Let's look at another item. Okay. This is
also just another observation about weights and measures, which is that in order to like you basically you either have to trust that the person is being honest about them, or you have to like be extremely suspicious. Like you have to be like, I'm gonna, double check with my own weights, and
Yeah.
which is like that's like a very bad position, like societally, to like have to like be like verifying people's weights and measures.
Yeah.
But if you don't do that, then a person can just get away with it.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I printed this out. I think. Let's see. Hold on. This one's first. Resh
Yeah.
test.
Yeah. So if you're having inaccurate weights and measures, then
Yeah.
you're basically putting society, like putting like other people in like a impossible position. Like because either they're going to get stolen from, or they have to like be very suspicious.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're actually going to do the second one first. This is sorry, this is too small. I want to get all on one page. Sefer HaChinach on ration and test. And for the sake of expediency, let's just read it in English until we get to the part where we need to read in Hebrew. So this is the mitzvah say, the commandment of having just. Wait, did I give you the right one? Ration and test. Sorry. Yeah, top.
Which is
The commandment of having just scales, weights, and measures. Yeah. To have just scales, weights, and measures, and to be very careful about them. As it is stated, you should have just scales, just weights, just ephah, and a just hin. And the language of Sifra Kedoshim, chapter 8:7, is just weights, just by the scales precisely, meaning to say that the scales be righteous. And the matter is well known regarding scales that there are important adjustments to make, and it is possible to do many types of falsehoods with them. And that's interesting. Just weights, justify the weights precisely, also with weights. All right, et cetera, et cetera. Sorry. We'll read all of it. It is also possible to do many types of falsehood, and similar to that which they, may their memory be blessed, said, I will repay in the future anyone who submersed his weights in salt. So I think it was a trick that they would use.
Yeah, I don't know if that would make them lighter or heavier, but
yeah,
it would affect the weight.
Right. I feel like it would make them lighter because salt would draw out any moisture.
So that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. A just ephah, justified ephah is precisely, and a just hin, justified hin precisely. And an ephah is a dry measure, and hin is a liquid measure. And the Torah warns about each and every one of these things, specifically due to the severity of the matter. And even though it is all included in the principle of a man shall not cheat his compatriot, that is interesting, by the way. Lo son ish es amiso. Yeah. What? No, tonu like honaa.
Okay.
You see the Hebrew there?
No, I don't.
It's above the paragraph. Actually, I don't know if you're.
The branch I was looking at was any asil b'Torah.
Oh yeah, we'll get there in a second.
That was before.
This is before the quote in the Sifra. V'apal pi shehaklal nichlal b'chlal v'lo sonu ish es ad miso.
Yes.
Yeah. Just a side point also is that it is. I think I mentioned this last time that the Bahag counts each of these as a separate mitzvah, but the Rambam and obviously the Sefer HaChinach, because he calls the Rambam. Yeah. I think he counts all of them. Maybe it's just two of them. I can't remember now. Because I only checked it in Dvarim. I didn't check Vayikra.
I only said Ephah means the
Yeah. So the Sefer HaChinach is saying the reason why the Torah needed to count each one of them is because it's very severe. And you could see a person saying like, oh, well, the Torah only said make sure that the stones are just, but like my liquid measures are fine, even though in principle it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but now let's switch to the Hebrew for this part though. This is Lashon Sifra. Al tanai kach hotzesi eschem eretz Mitzrayim. On this condition did I take you out from the land of Egypt. Shetikablu aleichem mitzvahs midos, that you accept upon yourself the mitzvah of midos. So that is definitely what the Rambam was referring to, right? This is Sifra. And that also explains the Kabbalah thing, because I think that this is talking about before Bnei Israel accepted the Torah, right? It's not like talking about us, that if we accept the Torah on ourselves, we accept this mitzvah on ourselves, we've already accepted it,
Yeah.
But it's saying that this is what a condition that God took us out. And then it says the Amru Gam Kein Zikronam Livracha. They also said, Ani shihi panti b'mitzrayim bein tipa shel bechor letipa she'eno shel bechor. So I am the one who in Egypt differentiated between the seed or the drop that would become a bechor and the drop that would not become a bechor. Ani asid li parel mimi shetaman mishkalosa b'melach k'dei lahonos habrios she'ein makirin tahen. I am the same one who will exact punishment from the one who immerses his weights in salt in order to cheat people with, who don't know any better. Yeah. So that's an interesting thing also. So so it sounds like there's two ideas in Yetzias Mitzrayim here. There's the idea of like the final cause of why God took us out of Mitzrayim is in order to accept midos. So we have to understand what that is. But then also the efficient cause, how God took us out, was through Machas Bechoros. And the same God who can distinguish between things that other people can't see, then don't think that you can kind of like get around God's jurisdiction by like making imperceptible differences in your weight so that you could cheat other people. So I feel like this is significant here. And I think that's the only thing I wanted to read from this. Maybe there's one more. Hold on just one
I
second.
never thought about the deny.
Yeah. Yeah, one more thing. Oh yeah. So here's this is in the mitzvah before it. I'm not gonna read the whole thing. So this is in the Lotase this is the Sefer Chinuch Reish Nun Ches. So let's see here. Okay, in the English, actually, let's read it in Hebrew in the second paragraph. Upirish hakasuv came lo tatu avel b'mishpat ma'u hamishpat sheshanu ikan. So what is the mishpat that is taught here? Because when we read the pasuk, I thought that was weird in the mishpat, and then it goes on to list the things. So it says hu hamida v'hamishkal v'hamatzura. The mishpat is the mida, the mishkal, and the matzura. V'lamdu zichron libracha. Shehizkir hakasuv b'kan mishpat shamoded nikra dayan. So this is an interesting thing. One who's measuring is called a dayan. It's called a judge. Okay. V'im shakar, I don't know, b'mida, harihu k'makalka asadin, v'kari avil, u'mishaket cherem v'toeivah. So that's the interesting thing, is that don't think that you are just like, following a law. You are enacting justice every time you measure, which is just a different way to view weight and measures.
Yeah.
I don't know what the implication is. The gorm l'chamisha devarim ha'amurim bedin mitame es ha'aret u'machal es ha'shem u'masalif es ha'shchina u'mapil yisrael b'charev u'magale osnam be'artan. So you're going to cause the 5 things that are said by there's probably Dayan, right? Not a din. Yeah, Dayan. You make the land impure. You desecrate the name of God. You remove the Shechina, I guess from Klal Yisrael or from the land. You cause Israel to fall by the sword, and you exile them from their place. The oti pligu b'chomer mitzvah zov amru ki gadol onchan onesh rayos shezeh ben adam lamakom zeh ben chavero. Okay, so he quotes that same thing, and then he's going to go into that. Skip all the way down to the very end. When he says, I guess at the end of the Hebrew, so this mitzvah applies at all times and places with men and women. If you transgress it in any of these 3 ways, then you violate a los aval ein logan alav. You don't get malchus. Because it's given to repayment. Because of our Rambam zichron livracha sheim shika b'midot afilu l'goy over avodah zara over below taseh v'chayav l'hachzir. Even if you cheat a goy who worships avodah zara, you're obligated to return it. It's also assur to cheat non-Jews in an account. Shenemar v'chishiv im konehu. Afa pishu kavush tachas yadecha. I thought he went in. We'll finish reading it. Even though he is subjugated under your hand, all the more so if he's not subjugated under your hand. Kol ose avel mikol makom. I think I'm supposed to say kol ose ele kol ose avel. Yeah, sorry, I thought he recorded the arrival thing again. Yeah. Okay, fine. So that's all I got from the Sefer Chinuch. Yeah, what were you going to say for
about the condition about you?
Yeah, sure. I also have an idea on that.
So, thinking about like true society is one where this is a thing that people do.
Yeah.
And one where it's not.
Okay.
So, in a society where people tend to or people frequently have unjust weights and measures, that society by definition a society where people a society that's rife with stealing and and lack of like financial trust in other people, and like like stealing and like deception.
Mhm.
Whereas a society where no one does that, there's there's like a level of like understanding of like respecting other people's possessions, and like basically in the first society you won't be able to like really have a system of honesty and like good like made out of the Javero.
Mhm.
Whereas the second you can.
Mhm.
Like it's like under like corrodes like the whole
Right.
like baseline of society.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's more so it's a more fundamental being on the than other things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. That's a good point.
Yeah. Because when you have a let's say when you have people who let's say when you have a person who does like armed robbery.
Mhm.
Let's say you have a society that has highwaymen.
Mhm.
That then like maybe you have to be careful when you go out at night or something. But this is like with this you if you have people who are doing this, then that undermines like a fundamental trust of one person in another. Yeah.
Mhm. Right. And you're connecting the seeds to Mitzrayim because they were taken out of Mitzrayim to form a new society and like
Yeah.
this undermines. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that also kind of might be and maybe this is a jump, but that might also be the what the Sefer HaChinuk was getting at with all the stuff about with the Dayan, that well not all the stuff, but some of it, you're Matame the land and you cause them to be exiled from their land. Like that seems to be a thing. Like land equals setting up a society, and like if you don't do this, then you are corrupting your land. Therefore, you don't deserve to be on the land. I had a slightly different approach to the Yetzias Mitzrayim thing, and this has not really worked out. But so last on Thursday, I was giving an analogy of like holding on to unjust weights and measures to be analogous to like holding on to nuclear weapons. That people realize that it's bad to use them, but like the fact that people still have them is also bad because it means that they can use them. So that's one analogy. And I think that still holds true. But another analogy is like, what would you say if you found out that there was like you had a non-Jewish neighbor who like seemingly is an upstanding citizen, and you find out that he has like a basement filled with Nazi paraphernalia, you would probably assume that that's unhealthy, that there's some sort of like unhealthy attachment to the ideology and like the stuff that like represents, and even if he assures you, oh, I'm not doing anti-Semitic violence, it's not going to put you at ease, So like there is, I feel like there's a way that a person could look at the mitzvah of, and this is, I guess, more about, I'll focus on this because assuming that Mishlei is about the ownership of the unjust weights and measures, not the usage of it. A person could say, look, I understand that you don't want me to use unjust weights and measures, because that's going to like interfere with society. But like, what's the big deal if I have them? Like, I promise I won't use them, So again, the two dimensions are, there's like a getter aspect that as long as you have them, it might lead to its usage. But I think there's a more fundamental thing, which is that there's an attachment to the objects of injustice that can only come from an attachment to injustice itself in some way. And there is this feeling of like, okay, God can tell me how to set up my shop and how to like use my weights and measures, but he's not going to tell me like, he's not going to get into my head and into my heart, in terms of the way I relate to justice and injustice. Like that's outside of God's jurisdiction. And that was the whole thing that Yetzias Mitzrayim was designed to like uproot, is that no, Hashem haaretz, that the entire land belongs to Hashem, or Ki ani Hashem b'keref haaretz, that when it comes to the being adam l'chavero, it's not just a matter of what we do to other people, it's our midos and our values and our ideas about how we relate to our fellow man, and like to completely uproot, like it's not enough in God's book, literally in his book, to stop us from cheating each other with these things, but he wants to completely uproot any trace of attachment to like the implements of cheating. You know.
You can't just like leave it at the office.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Right. And I was thinking that might be what the toeivah is. Oh, hold on just 1 second here. Should I state my theory of toeivah? Or should we? Not yet. Okay. So should we work on toeivah as a separate thing?
Yeah, I don't want to like digest.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Maybe that would be good to do for tomorrow. To take a answer all the cases of toeivah and tanakh. Yeah, but
yeah. But not the correct it was a good example for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I have a slight raya for that this is about owning them.
Sure.
Because it's like Evan va'evan, Eva va'eva, which is you have like multiple.
Yeah.
Which is, and you don't use multiple at once.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's having, I think it's the if you're using like unjust ways of measure, you have I think 2 of them.
Yeah.
One for when you're buying.
Yes.
And
right.
You're selling.
Right. I was going to bring up that fact. Yeah, because I didn't understand that last time. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think when you're buying, you have a heavier one, and when you're selling, you have a lighter one.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get more when you
get
buy,
more. Yeah.
You give less when you sell.
Yeah. Right.
So when so you're not using both of them at once. And it could be that you're using multiple, but I think it implies that I think it lends itself more to the reading of like having multiple.
Because the argument that you were saying now did seem to put the emphasis on the usage. The fact that you're going to pull out this one when you're going to buy and this one when you sell.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's why you have 2, but it's not. I'm saying it sounds like it's the having of the 2 because it's the fact that you've got 2 stones. Evan. It's not just that you have a heavier stone, or you have a lighter stone.
Right. One other thing, by the way, that we read last time, but maybe it could fit into what we're saying today. Now look at Sadigan again, top right. So he divides into 2 categories: mishkalos that are different, and that sounds to be like what you were saying, but then midos that are not exact. So that's another type of thing. That's a less egregious. A less egregious example, but it partakes of the same problems that we said before. Of like, if you're not exact with your measures, so then that undermines trust being on Clavero. It allows for cheating to happen. It allows for the fact that like you might not be, giving your customer what they're paying for, or you may be getting more than what you're paying for. So I think I don't know what prompts him to like insert that into the pasuk, but he wants to cover both categories of it, Yeah. Just skim through some of these meforshim really quickly, just see if there's anything here. I didn't understand the Rabbeinu Yonah. I tried to. This is David. Rock the Ramos, a little bit shot. Okay, I don't get that either. Yeah. All right, so maybe let's do this. Let's stop this for today, and then maybe tomorrow. I don't know how we want to do this with the toeivah thing, because I think one good thing to do, again, like I said before, this is good to do every couple of years. Look at the examples of toeivah in mitzvos and come up with a theory based on that. Because it's tempting to do it with Mishlei, but I feel like because he uses it in a lot of pasukim and a lot of them need to be learned, maybe it'll be harder to do it in Mishlei. And I still feel like we'd be getting an accurate thing because this is a case where the Torah calls a mitzvah, an iser toeivah, So, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good. All right, let's